What sleeps amid the dunes of despair? Professor Flagg's map showed us exactly where the entrance to the tomb was. The rocks crumbled and gave way, revealing a narrow staircase that seemed to plunge straight into the heart of the earth. We couldn't see much further than a few feet. And then there was darkness. The air was so heavy and musty, Jerome advised we put on our hazmat suits.
No one has been in here since the 90s. God knows what sort of bacteria might have built up,
he commented. We all hastily complied, eager to set foot into the find of a lifetime.
The scans aren't picking up anything beyond 200 feet down, but it's definitely a labyrinth down there,
Meredith commented.
Everyone needs to stay together,
Jerome advised. Dimitri rustled his military text together in his fingers for good luck, saying a soft prayer as he rubbed his artificial leg and started down the stairs. I gave Andrew a glance to see if he had any objections. And then, we all trudged downward. All of us had a reason for being here. Whether that was for fame or fortune, or simply curiosity, there was really no turning back now. An uneasy silence covered over us as we went into the depths, each of us curious to see what we would find. When Flax returned to the university a few months back with details about an Egyptian pyramid that had never been discovered by archaeologists, all of us were initially skeptics. Any self-respecting historian knew that the last major find of tombs that was in the pyramid hadn't been found in over 50 years. But here we are, I thought, as we reached the first stone entrance to what I assumed was a temple of some kind. Jerome brushed away some of the inscriptions, and my sister walked over to it, asking Jensen to assist with the translation as they dusted away more of the letters.
This is definitely ancient hieroglyphs, but it's different from the normal kind I've seen,
Jensen admitted. It took them about an hour to decipher, as we all sat there. Apparently, a mixture of Sumerian was in the stone as well.
Enter the tomb of Kuranis, library of the damned, and seal of the record of the underworld. Upon entry, be warned, a curse shall.
Meredith paused and blushed, clearly thinking the text was nonsense.
We can skip the rest, right?
She asked.
Does it say how to open the door?
Andrew asked.
It does,
my sister said as she pressed a few keystones. From somewhere behind a massive block of stone, we heard a rumbling. All of us watched as the ancient mechanisms opened away, and we were greeted with a spectacle of ancient relics and carvings. Everything you might expect in a find of this magnitude.
This is 10 times better than Flagnaron,
Jensen whistled, reaching for a jewel. Our leader snatched his hand away and gave him the stink eye.
Don't be a fool. We have no idea what could be booby-trapped. Besides, Flag made it clear the real treasure is deeper down,
Jerome commented.
Guys?
Dimitri said from across the room. He had found something. Sarcophaguses. 6 of them, all lined perfectly in what was clearly meant as a group burial chamber. Andrew and I examined the carvings as I took pictures. Then, Jerome ordered for us to open them.
Don't be insane. It could ruin the specimens,
Meredith said. Truthfully, the red coffins were unnerving, as Flack had never mentioned anything about the tomb having this type of burial in his description. It made me wonder if there were any other details he kept to himself. Technically, none of us were supposed to be here. Flack had returned to the museum with a request that any further expeditions be postponed in light of what he called disturbing finds deep in the ruins. Was he referring to these strange crimson coffins? Or something far more dangerous and sinister down below?
There could be mummies inside, and we need to determine how old they are,
Jerome argued.
They don't look as ancient as everything else. Very well preserved.
Andrew admitted as he examined one of the massive ornate covers. Suddenly, it moved and began to slide off. Instinctively, my boyfriend jumped back, and all of us peered closer to get a look at the corpse. There wasn't anything strikingly unique about the mummy. The wrappings looked to be in good condition, and they seemed fairly young to have died. It made me wonder why this tomb had been made. It wasn't common for non-royalty to get such burials, and nothing in the coffin struck me as connected to any pharaohs we knew of.
Oh God.
I paused and looked toward the coffin that Meredith was examining, wondering what she had found. This corpse looked slightly less decomposed than normal, and had one arm folded across his chest with something clutching between its fingers. Meredith reached for it, prying the metallic clipping from the corpse, and commenting,
"These are just like your dog tags."
We checked the others. Only 3 of the coffins had bodies, but it was still unnerving. Dimitri moved over to the first sarcophagus and looked at him, trying to figure out how this was possible. He placed the metal clippings against his own dog tags and commented softly,
"They look identical."
Then he turned to the corpse and immediately grabbed the mummy's right leg.
"It's artificial too. Jerome, what is this place? What is happening here?"
The leader of our group looked at all of us incredulously and sneered.
"You don't seriously believe that corpse is you? What kind of hogwash is that? It not only isn't possible, it's not even logical. This tomb has been sealed for ages. It's some kind of trick."
He dismissively pressed toward the next chamber of the pyramid. As I looked at all of the coffins, and felt a chill run down my spine. Suddenly, it didn't feel safe to be there. What if Dimitri was right? I'm not a superstitious person, but the pyramid didn't feel as friendly anymore. Suddenly, our trespassing felt like it was becoming bad karma on us. Jerome wasn't deterred. As we went further, however, I noticed that the hieroglyphs were getting more and more random, as though even the ancient Egyptians were experiencing madness, not having any rhyme or reason for their works. Some of it didn't even resemble normal writings I had seen in museums. What had befallen the people in this tomb? I could hear strange noises down below as we went down a tunnel that gradually becomes narrower. Voices? Impossible. It led straight into a massive library, but all of the shelves were bare. Either that, or the scrolls were so desolate and old that there was nothing left but dust.
"This is disappointing. We should go back to the treasure room,"
Jensen joked.
"I'm not going there again, unless it's on the way out."
Dimitri said.
"I found something,"
Meredith called. We followed her voice to a massive mural. It covered the entire wall as far as our eyes could see. The painting was both simplistic and striking, depicting our ancient ancestors bowing down to what looked like obelisks that had fallen from the sky. All of the strange monoliths were completely black, even darker than the shadows in the tomb. Something about them, even in art form, unnerved me.
"Professor Flagg said there were discoveries here which were never meant to be found. Do you think he meant this?"
Jensen asked. None of us knew what to say. Jerome advised that we split up and search the rest of the library.
"Let's not make this trip for nothing,"
he told us. Andrew passed me his old army firearm and said,
"I would rather you have this than me. Just a feeling."
I squeezed his hand and muttered,
"I don't want anything to happen to you either though. I've got his back."
Dimitri assured me. There wasn't much time for debates. Meredith and I stuck together as we went down the eastern tunnel, the painting of the monoliths on my mind as we searched the empty shelves.
I don't think this destruction is old, sis. It's recent. Flack came in here and attempted to destroy all the evidence of the find.
She realized.
But why? He must have known eventually others would follow in his footsteps to this place.
I said.
I don't know. All of this is very strange.
She paused as we came to a fork in the road and told me to check the chamber on the left while she went right. I hated the idea of being alone in such a cursed place, but didn't want my sister to see that I was frightened. The next room was just as dim and dusty as the others. Clear signs of grave robbery could be seen everywhere, and it even looked like the last persons in here had gone through the trouble of setting off the traps. I reached for one of the stones that was clearly designed as a switch of some kind, and pressed on it. Surprised to hear the entire room begin to move, including the ground. I was sinking into the floor. I tried to move back the way I had come, but the drop happened so suddenly, I wasn't ready. Soon, I was in a dark room about 20 feet below.
Meredith, I'm stuck.
I called out. No response. Great, I thought as I searched blindly around the room for anything that might help. Then, to my shock, the entire chamber I was standing in was illuminated. Not by torches, but by artificial lighting on the walls. The room I was standing in wasn't ancient at all, but resembled something like a war bunker with security monitors and supercomputers on every wall. Slowly, I approached what looked like a printout table where one of the machines was actively punching out endless codes of numbers. What was all of this? I warned all of you not to come here. A voice in the darkness said. My hair stood on end, and I pulled out Andrew's firearm. There, standing in the tunnel alongside me, was Professor Flack.
You're dead,
I said. In this life, perhaps I am. Perhaps what you and your colleagues did is nothing short of damnation. And you have come to visit me now in hell, he whispered as he took a step closer. His eyes were jet black, his body crippled and twice his normal age.
What happened to you?
I said in shock. This place is purgatory, written in the very sense of time itself. I discovered too late that only death and evil happen here, and I made it my goal to keep the forbidden things of this true world hidden from the light. You do not belong here, Jackie, he sneered.
You're rambling like a madman. Don't come closer, or I will fire,
I said, keeping the weapon aimed at his heart. My soul is gone already. Your weapons mean nothing to me. The moment I stepped foot into this place, I became part of it. So have you. You saw the coffins. This pyramid is alive. It does not belong in this world. The dark stones you saw above, did you define their meaning? He asked. My mouth felt dry. The uneasy feeling all of us had of how the tunnels were changing. That lingering concern of evil and whispers on all sides.
I know this sounds impossible, but this is actually an ancient alien spacecraft?
I asked. He presented to me with what looked like a small book with leather-bound pages and cracking binding. The record of the dead. This is what I came here to find. It is what I came here to protect. The creatures that built this prison did so to stop anyone from seeing what secrets it held. For it is not a record of past haunting, but of future. The death of the world that is to come. He cackled. His eyes were bleeding now, his form changing. He was no longer even a man. Long mandibles and spider legs broke from his back as his voice became distorted.
Your species will be the one that unleashes this evil upon this reality, and the world we live in shall become the reality. The true world.
I heard Meredith call out from above, and I ran, pushing past the creature as it finished shaping and changing. The room I was in was already morphing as well. She dropped a rope to me, and I climbed, knowing my life depended on it. Once back in the familiar ruins of the pyramid, I grabbed her hand and said,
We need to find Andrew and leave this place. What is that?
She asked. I looked down to see I was clutching the record that Flack had been holding. The strange chronicle he claimed came from beyond space and time.
I don't know. Let's get out of here.
I said as I dropped it. Meredith instinctively picked it back up and tucked it in her pack.
You heard Jerome. We can't leave empty-handed.
And then, we heard a scream. We rushed toward the main library and saw the man we were talking about fall from a great height alongside Jensen. Just as we entered, their bodies crashed into the stone floor, and it became fine dust. Up above, I saw Dimitri and Andrew, both paralyzed with fear. And then, I saw Flag again. His massive, monstrous body crawled across the ceiling as he pursued my boyfriend and the other soldiers.
What the hell is that?
Meredith screamed. All I could think was, we needed to keep moving. The mural on the wall started to glow and shimmer. The monoliths were beginning to move. The image was changing. It was not showing the past, but the future. I remember Flag saying. So, I decided to change course. I grabbed Meredith's hand and rushed up the stairs toward Andrew and Dimitri.
Head toward the roof.
I shouted, pointing to the precipice where Jerome had fallen from. It was an exit to the surface. A beam of light came down amid the ruins as the monster spider scrambled toward us. Flag was splitting his body apart now, sending swarms of smaller creatures toward us as we ran. Dimitri did not make it. His artificial leg tripped him, and he fell into the swarm of evil as we climbed. But we couldn't mourn or look back. We had to reach the surface. Once hitting the sun, Meredith and Andrew and I quickly covered the exit, and then rushed off the sandy mountain. The entire ground tumbled, and a quake occurred, destroying what little was left of the ruins of Koranis. What did you see down there? Andrew whispered as we made it to our convoy and drove away. It was indescribable. Something that didn't belong in our world. I explained. It was enough to make me wonder if I had been driven mad by the strange writings and the claustrophobic chambers. Then, I saw my sister take out the record that Fleck had desperately tried to hide. The one he claimed told the future. What is that? My boyfriend wondered aloud. A record for the dead, brought back to life. Meredith whispered. We will call it the Lazarus Record.